Okay, so I'm Betty Shelley, as you've just heard, and I want to say that Jenica's presentation was superb. She said so many things that I say in my class, and it was really great. And I'm pleased to follow her because now I don't have to say those things. And she's covered it all, so that's great. And is this forward? Okay, so we call our class Less is More because less is more. Let's see. Let me read what I wrote. Less is liberating and gives you more time and more control, and it causes less damage to the planet. So, closer. Okay. Did you guys hear what I said before? Okay. So I want you to know that we started recycling in 1973, probably before many of you were born. My husband and I were living in Corvallis, and there was a depot that was formed, and they started taking cans, cardboard, and paper, and it was very exciting to be able to get rid of our recycling and feel like we were doing something good for the planet. So we were in 1992, we were in the second master recycler class, and in that class we learned where is away. There we go. Yeah, where is away? And I had never really thought about that before. Where do you when you throw something away, where is away? And so that really made us stop and think about where is our stuff going. And this is about how long it takes materials exposed to air and water to decompose. Okay, so I'll read it. Can everybody read it, or should I read it out loud? It's paper takes a month, cotton fabric takes 5 months, natural rope 3 to 14 months, wool sock 1 year, wood stick 13 years, tin can 100 years, aluminum can 200 to 500 years, glass bottle 500 years or more, plastic milk jug never, polystyrene burger container never. And so keep in mind here that what the key to this is that this is if it's exposed to air and water. Well, if it goes into a landfill, it's not exposed to air and water, so it's going to sit there forever. There's a really good, interesting book called Garbology, if you want to read that, and it talks about how they found a intact hamburger in the middle of the landfill, and it had been there how long, and it just sat there because it's closed. So you want to keep things out of landfills as much as possible. In 1993, we got involved with Northwest Earth Institute and took their simplicity and sustainability courses and learned this, that everything comes from the earth. And I also hadn't thought about that. I don't know where I'd been thinking or what I'd been thinking, but I realized, you know that the wood things come out of the earth and the metal things come out of the earth, but all this other stuff, every single thing around us comes out of the planet. And that was another stunning thing for me. So this is a wasteberg, and it says the estimated 70 pounds of waste created upstream in mining, manufacturing, packaging, etc. Sorry, this doesn't make sense to me. The estimated 70 pounds of waste created upstream in mining, manufacturing for every 1 pound of stuff we discard. So that's the wasteberg. That is the same with your garbage cans at the curb. So for every can of garbage you put at the curb, the equivalent of 70 cans of garbage have been created upstream in the mining, manufacturing, transportation, energy, etc. So I stopped to think about that, and I went, we've been putting out 1 can a year, so only 70 cans really. And actually the longest we've gone with our garbage is 19 months, so it's averaged out to be 12 cans in 13 years, so that kind of made me feel even better. And we didn't start out to have 1 can of garbage a year. We just wanted to reduce our impact. That was the most important thing to us, is just what can we do to reduce our impact. So when you throw something away, as Jenica was talking about, what else is being tossed? And this kind of, okay, since 1900, U.S. population has tripled, but use of materials has increased 17-fold. This is an old statistic. It's probably maybe a good 10 years old. But that's impressive. So when you're throwing things away, you're throwing the materials away that were made to create the item you're throwing away. It's pretty amazing that our society has reached a point where the effort necessary to extract oil from the ground, ship it to a refinery, turn it into plastic, shape it appropriately, truck it to a store, buy it, and bring it home, is considered to be less effort than what it takes to just wash the spoon when you're done with it. Right? That's another kind of hits you in the face kind of situation, or hits you in the brain. So we looked at what we needed to do to reduce our waste and what we really needed. What did we really need in our life? And we came up with this, and the hierarchy of needs is over here on the table too. So you've heard of the hierarchy of needs, about what you really need, you know, food, water, shelter, clothing, etc. This is the hierarchy of needs. What you make do with what you have is at the bottom. The most important: borrow, swap, thrift, make, and then at the top is buy. So you don't want to buy any more than you absolutely need to. You want to be sharing with friends, doing exchanges, work parties, swap parties, all sorts of things like that, where you're building community with like-minded people. I want to say to you, I meant to say it the first, I'm really thrilled to be in a room full of people who understand this and are enthusiastic about this kind of practice. So we started, first of all, with reducing napkins. We stopped using paper napkins and paper products in general. We started eliminating all disposables. We started shopping in bulk, many of the steps that Jenica referred to. We wanted to practice frugality. Frugality was great because it made it so that I could work part-time for 20 years. I didn't have to work full-time to pay for the things that I wanted to buy and then dispose of. So the frugality was very important in our lives. As I say, we started buying in bulk. There's another R that wasn't mentioned, and that's repair. My husband wore dress shirts to work, and so when the shirts would wear out, the collars and cuffs would wear out, you take them to a tailor and you turn those collars and cuffs, and that saves a $60 dress shirt from having to go to Goodwill or something. We also, in master recyclers, who in the room is a master recycler? I thought there might be quite a few of you. Good for you. In master recycler class, we also learned the concept of pre-cycling. Does anybody know pre-cycling? Do they still talk about it in master recyclers? Well, pre-cycling is before you buy something, you look at it and figure out what you're going to do with it when it's at the end of its life. Are you going to take it? Is it going to go to a landfill? Can you do something else with it? Can you give it to a friend? Is there some other purpose for it? If there's not another purpose for it, maybe you don't really need to buy that thing. You can, or walk away from it for a while and decide, yeah, I really do need this and I can do something else with it. And then the reduce and refuse, as Jenica was referring to. So our actions matter. So one of the things that we learned is that our actions affect our own health, the health of those we love, and the health of the earth. By letting others see our personal changes, we set an example of a different way to be in the world. Once we make the changes, we cannot return to previous behaviors. That's actually what someone in my class said. She said, once you learn this stuff, you can't go back to doing things the way you did before. And then to live with integrity, we have no choice but to change. Does this ring a bell with anybody? Does that seem pretty accurate? So in addition to all the things that we started doing around reducing our intake and then the waste that we put out, we also started catching water. We have a bucket in the shower where we catch water, and we use it either to flush. In the winter, we use it to flush toilets because it rains plenty in the winter, so we don't have to worry about the yard. But we put the water in the yard in the summer, and I also catch cooking water in the summer when it's really hot. This summer was really hard on our fir trees in our yard, and so we were putting all the water we could out on the fir trees. You may have noticed that a lot of trees were pretty distressed. We lower our heat in our house so that we keep it now, after several years of putting it down a degree or two at a time, we keep our house at 64 in the winter and wear sweaters. I have wonderful warm sweaters, and so I really like to wear those. It kind of bugs me when people walk around in the winter in a t-shirt and their house is 70 degrees, but I don't say anything. But there are choices. There are choices to be made. We share a lot with friends. We belong to work parties. As Jenica said, why does everybody need to own a lawnmower? Or why does everybody need their own drill? Just, go to either a tool library or share with your friends. This zero Waste PDX group is so cool. If you aren't part of it on Facebook, you should become part of it because people post such great ideas and they're constantly sharing information. And now what we do is we think that this is all part of a game. We come up with interesting solutions for the things that happen to us that come into our lives. And as I said, actions matter. I had left time in my presentation for a bunch of questions. How much time do I have left?
7 whole minutes.
I have 7 whole minutes. So I'm going to say a couple things here first. I do have this list of actions that we've taken about reducing our impact. And if you want this list, you can email me, or, well, actually, the best thing, you can put your email address on this page, and I can send you the list of actions so that you can see if anything is something that you'd be willing to do. And I want to echo what Jenica said. We can all do something. We're pretty much told that what individuals do doesn't make a difference. It's up to the big corporations or the big businesses. They're the ones that are going to make the biggest difference. That's true. If they would change their habits, that would help a whole lot. But in the meantime, we need to know that there are things that we actually can do. And for every can that you don't put out at the curb, that's 70 cans of garbage that you've saved. So keep that in mind. So this will be someplace in the room that you can sign up and get that list of information. Oh, and I did want to make a couple comments. Food waste. When food goes into a landfill, it creates methane, which is 23 times worse for climate change than just regular waste, okay? So, than CO2. So keep that in mind if you're wasting food, that you're going to be causing this methane gas. And the Metro RIC, we've referred to it a lot. Nick did work there for a time, and Nancy works there currently. They have tons of information, so be sure to call them. People are really hesitant to call a live person anymore. They would rather text or do something, but really call them and find out all sorts of stuff. And if they don't know something be sure and tell them, and they can add that to their list of tricks. It's 503-234-3000. I worked there for 18 years part-time, and it's just a wonderful resource. Okay, so sign up for the list of habits and practices. If you have any questions, you can meet me during those networking sessions. And I have a couple things I'll show you. So this is my grocery list. You're not going to be able to really see this, but this is an example of how I do my grocery list. A lot of times people say, well, I can't ever remember my bulk, my containers to take for bulk. So this says rice B with a bag next to it. So that's how I started making my grocery list. And that would remind me that, oh yeah, I got to take a bag for my rice. I've got to take a jar for my honey, a bag for my almonds. Syrup needs a J for jar. So that's the key for me remembering that I was going to use those things. We take our hanky and use that. You all probably know that styrofoam peanuts can go back to a lot of the shipping stores. We used to buy, before the plastics ban, we used to buy sushi at a store near us. Now we don't buy sushi anymore, but we did start using these little trays, the couple that we had, to put olive oil bottles on, So there's all sorts of, it makes you feel like, wow, okay, I figured out a use for these kinds of things. Also, Scrap is this most wonderful place. And last time I was there anyway, they would take, these things you get for bedding, etc., these vinyl envelopes, they would take these. So and they were taking these things. You can crochet these, apparently, into scrubbies, and that's one project I'm going to do. This can go to scrap. This thing from a notebook. Cotton from your pill bottles. What do you do with this? You can use it for astringent. You can use it for your toenails. So keep these things. You can compost cotton, but there are other uses for it. One of my students had her mother crochet a little pad for using for her astringent and stuff, and these are washable. So this is permanent. You don't have to throw it away. It doesn't, it's just going to get washed. So there are all sorts of clever things. scrap like Altoids boxes. So if you aren't familiar with scrap, if you haven't ever been there before, they have a bigger space now, and it's this wonderful place to go and get creative. As Jenica was saying, reuse your bulk containers. This is a bag that I've had, as you can see, I've used quite a few times. Be careful. I wash them out. Be careful when you're washing it out to notice if the water is squirting out, because that means it's got holes, and that happened with quinoa one time, and it was not a good situation. Wash foil. This is foil that I just took off a butter box today, because I buy butter when it's on sale, and then put foil around the box and keep it in the freezer. When I first got married, my mother-in-law washed foil. She was a product of the Depression, right? And I thought that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. So look who's keeping foil. Another thing that we do is buy products like this. This is happens to be a moisturizer, and I have toothpaste here someplace. Everything's going on the floor. This is a metal tube, and so you don't have to throw this away. You can recycle it. So when it gets down to close to the very end, I just cut it off like that, and then get all the rest out, scoop the rest out, and then when it's finally done, you can uncrimp it to make sure everything's out. Uncrimp this, and get everything out, and then that metal tube can go into your recycling. Couldn't it, right? Because it's not going to be flat. No, I wouldn't flatten it if you're putting it into the recycling. Yeah, maybe ball it up with like metal. Because the thing is, with some metals, if it's too flat, it goes in with the magazines and newspapers. How's my time? Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. All right. So, and candle stumps. Here's another thing to take to scrap. Little ends of candles. You don't have to throw those away. You can make your own candles with them. Scrap would love them, because somebody's going to make a new candle with it. So there's so many resources in Portland and around the region that you can find options for things that you can just keep out of your garbage and get down slowly but surely. For a long time, we were at 2 cans of garbage a year. And then after the cat died, then we got to 1 can a year, because we didn't have cat waste anymore. So anyway, so see me in between if you've got questions. And the website is reduceyourwasteproject.com. I do have brochures here. And if it's also on Facebook at reduceyourwasteproject.com. But anything we can do to keep from wasting our resources is going to be a huge impact on climate change. Thank you.